Anyone tell me what these numbers represent? And they're not just even numbers. They're actually redundancies in the past 2 weeks in the resources industry in Perth. Going on statistics from Mind Skills Australia from 2012, this represents 0.0005 of reduction in the last 2 weeks in the resources sector in Western Australia. Now, I know that number's really small, but you think about that's just in 2 weeks. This is happening long term. So we're here at a Mind Skills Summit to talk about Mind Skills requirement long term, strategic workforce planning, and look at the latest and greatest in training and development. But right now in WA, I think it's just all about survival. So we're just seeing what's going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months. But in saying that, I'm passionate about training and development and excited, and you'll see that, and certainly excited about development of the workforce of the future. So today I'm going to talk to you about the action gap in training our workforce of the future. The workforce of the future, I include types like not just graduates, but apprentices. We look at trainees. I also look at vacation students, interns, anyone who's going to be in our industry in the future doing good stuff. But the sad reality is, over the last 8 years since I've been in the industry, the workforce of the future programs are the first ones to get canned when the industry starts going down, which is a real shame, and we wonder why we've got a skills shortage. I know I'm not telling you guys anything new because you wouldn't be here otherwise, but it's killing our industry. We just need to keep these programs going essentially, but I know I'm preaching to the converted here. And incidentally, yesterday after we talked about some mining engineering stats of different universities, I got on my text to some peeps I know over in Western Australia about who's graduating, how many mining engineers are graduating out of Western Australia. Out of the University of WA, they've got 33 graduating at the end of this year, and 9 of those are international students. And out of the WA School of Mines, which is Curtin University, they've got 68. So yes, we are going to be hit with a shortage. It is just going to be a shortage, that's just the way it is. So yes, we do need to get out and talk to kids at school. There's a whole bunch of things we should be doing. Now, the action gap, what is it? Now, my other half said he thought this looked like fallopian tubes. I just think he's got a one-track mind. But anyway, we look at, if we could just look at great intention. Now, great intention is knowledge, gaining knowledge. So we look at schools, universities, TAFEs, RTOs, somewhere where we can learn, essentially. And then just look at the other side, to great outcomes. So this is where we can apply all that knowledge. But we're missing something in the middle, and I call this the abyss of stuckness. This is where we're sort of going wrong. We're not allowing our workforce of the future to apply all that learning, this great knowledge that they've gained at university or wherever, and applying it to get a great outcome. It's a huge problem. We don't offer enough practice to learnings to have these great outcomes. Incidentally, this is the first stage of learning, second stage of learning, and third stage of learning. That's important. We'll come back to that a bit later on. Look, universities are great at providing theory, research, and lots of analytical stuff, I call it. And it is the pinnacle of higher learning, but I don't think academia is enough. Our graduates are entering the workforce after spending 3 or 5 years at university. They're hit with a huge reality gap, hence this abyss of stuckness. They don't get the opportunity to practice what they've learnt because quite often it's irrelevant. Now, I surveyed 101 grads. I know, 101, funny number, but I did the count the other day, it's 101. One of the questions I say to them is, of everything you've learnt at university, how much do you actually apply it in the workplace? And they came back and said about a third. Now, I do like universities, I'm certainly not bagging. But as industry, I think we need to collaborate more with universities to ensure what they're teaching is reality-based. Workforce of the future, WTF. I did have a role in a company, HR advisor, WTF. It was a bit funny at the time because everyone knows what WTF stands for, Workforce of the Future. Got a few raised eyebrows, but I got a lot of credibility from Gen Y. It was all good. I want to share a story with you about a graduate who joined our company and wanted to highlight to you how we are probably scared and we steer away from practical development. And it's called Tristan's story. This is a bit of graffiti. It says, "Love me, please." So Tristan, graduate electrical engineer, came, and this is when I was actually working at BHP Billiton, came to BHP. Look, he had distinction to high distinction average, very, very savvy, had lots of knowledge, and he's a good guy, because this is when I was helping with the recruitment, because I wanted a certain kind of grad. I wanted them to be semi-well-rounded before they join the organisation, have a few good skills under the belt, like communication skills, which is something that unis miss. He joined the company, went out on site. Part of my role was just to keep an eye on these guys when they went out to site. So we had an intake that year of about 20. Really, at 2008, nickel price is $50,000 a tonne. It was good times. Had lots of money to spend, had a big apprentice intake as well. He went out to site, went out after about 8 months, just to, hey, check in. We did check in before then, but our 8-month check-in review meeting. So Tristan, how you going? Asked him the usual set of questions. You know, you enjoying fly in, fly out? How's your lifestyle? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting along with your team members? Are you meeting regularly with your supervisor? He was coming back to me with, you know, the usual answers, but I could tell by his body language and demeanour that something was wrong. And this is when I ask Workforce of the Future people, tell me how it really is, what's really going on. And he just said, look, I can't do anything. I follow electricians around on site all day and I can't touch anything. Engineers, hands off. It's the practical guys that can go in and, yeah, you can have a look at what's going on there, you can sort of diagnose, but these guys are going to come in and fix it. He felt useless. He felt like he'd wasted time at university and thought, oh, what the hell am I doing here? Tristan's a good guy. And I said, all right, well, you know, did you speak to your supervisor? All the usual stuff that us HRE people, you know, try and flower around with it. He said, no, Erica, I want to do an electrical apprenticeship. And I said, why would you want to do that? You're an engineer. You know, beef him up. He said, no, because I want to get hands-on. I want to get down there. I want to be able to diagnose and fix a problem, and I want to do it all. I thought about this, and I thought, well, we tell these Workforce of the Future people, you need to drive your own development. And that's exactly what he was doing. He was driving his own development. Then he said, I've already researched which TAFE I can do this through, which will fit in with my fly in, fly out. I can go in one day on my 6 days off. I can do things externally. I can go and meet with my lecturer when I've got the time to do it, and I can keep in touch with him via email. And I went, oh, okay, how could I say no? But I did have to put a business case forward to my manager, who's head of OD at the time. And she said to me, well, what does he want to be? Does he want to be an electrician or does he want to be an electrical engineer? I said, he wants to do both. She said, do whatever you want. I thought, right, we're going to support this person. So we supported him. It took a little, you know, there was a little bit of resistance, particularly from our training department, who were doing more with the apprentices. Said, well, he's a graduate. He wants to be in an apprentice program. I said, let's support him. Let's get him on board and see what happens. So it was a bit of a test case. Obviously, Tristan, being the high achiever he was, he flew through the apprentice program. He was able to get fast tracked because he was RPL'd on some units. So it's a great success story. Tristan had the knowledge. He wanted to apply it practically, but didn't have the opportunity to practice or master these skills. So, hence the apprenticeship. Now, after that, he wasn't the only one to do that. And now I actually interviewed him Monday. I said to Tristan, hey, let's go over what happened back in 2008, 2009, just so I could refresh it in my memory. And he just said, look, I get asked about this all the time now, and a lot of these electrical engineers are very interested in having that dual qualification. So right now, let's talk about great outcomes. Tristan is in charge of a commissioning project for 12 electrical power boards at BHP Billiton Iron Ore, so he moved away from nickel. He has leadership capability because that was part of the grad program. He had the theoretical smarts, which he got from university. And he's got the practical knowledge because he's got that apprenticeship. Now, you might say, yeah, that's a really great example of, action gap and where the gap is and how we can try and fix it. But it's actually not really that hard. And it doesn't have to be that, it doesn't have to go as far as someone else qualifying for another trade. That was just, something that as a company we wanted to support him, and he did it. And now the company is certainly getting a lot of bang for their buck, and he stayed with the company, although in a different area. Hands up golfers here. Oh, this is fun. Any golfers? Lovely, you're going to love the next bit. If we can log on to the internet. I'm going to talk about the stages of learning. We're going to talk about the first one. It's about, just bear with me here, about gaining knowledge. It's called the cognitive stage. And hopefully I can pull this up. Does it look like it's going to work? Bit of YouTubeage going on. Please work. Here we go. First stage of learning. First stage of learning, performances are inconsistent and often not successful, and success is sometimes not guaranteed. Performing the skill requires all the athletes' attention, so they rely on the coach for clues. It's a process of trial and error, and a success rate with about 2 out of 10. Correct performance must be reinforced through external feedback. So you see these golfers, they're not having a very good time. Remember when we first started playing golf, people, we were a bit crap. Just needed to practice. So again, hands up the golfers. Yep, you remember those days? They were good times. They were good times. And how we apply it in the workplace is this is what we sometimes know what we need to do, but we don't get the opportunity to practice. So let's look at the second stage of learning. Just bear with me again. And this is where we generally need to get a coach. Now don't just look at Tiger Woods because it's actually not all about him. It's actually about the guy next to him. He's got a coach. Second stage of learning is the associated stage of learning. Performances are becoming more consistent as they're being formed. Simpler parts of the skill now look more fluent and are well learned. The more complex elements require most of the spare attention which you've got in your brain. The athlete is starting to get a sense of kinesthetic feedback when they perform the skill well. They are starting to detect and correct their own errors, and a success rate has risen from 5 to 7 out of 10. So they're getting a lot better at it. But as you see, in the workplace, this is where we need our coaches, our mentors, our supervisors to help our people with the first stage, the knowledge, and putting it into practice and giving them feedback. As we're saying, we don't give enough feedback. Red Balloon was recognition, feedback, all that sort of stuff. It's what we need to do, is just to help these guys succeed and, again, go for that great outcome. All right, and now we're going to get to the automation stage. You know what I'm going to show you here. You know exactly. I've just got to find it. If we had sound. We didn't get the sound, did we? Oh, can't have everything. The sound was brilliant. Great little... So this is Tiger at his best, automated, final stage of learning. Performance has become consistent. It's fluid. It's aesthetically pleasing. The motor programs evolved are well learned and stored in the long-term memory. Now his spare attention, because sometimes he has a bit of spare attention, can be focused on his opponents and tactics. But to retain the skill at this level, you still do need to practice and reinforce the motor programs. Success is now 9 out of 10. Now, we look at automation stage in our workplace. We look at those managers. This gentleman there, you've been in the mining industry a long time. I'm sure a lot of your things that you do at work have become quite automated. when those skills are automated, those other people can spend some of their other time coaching others and mentoring others because they already know how to do the other stuff. So we want to help people get to that automation stage so they can be in a position to coach and train others. All right, enough golf, people. That is just, should be working here. All right. So, in essence, the reason I put that Love Me Please slide up, there we go, current slide, sorry. I suppose for Tristan, it was someone who took an interest in his development so we could forge ahead and get him what he wanted. I'm wondering, the people in this room, who you've got looking after your workforce of the future? Is it someone that's just been handballed that role to look after your apprentices and graduates and trainees? Or is it someone who's really dedicated and enjoys helping those people out and seeing them succeed? I'd want to think about that the first thing you do if you are serious about your workforce of the future. We've gone through all this. At company I run, the Graduate Impact Company, we assist organisations reduce that abyss of stuckness. We work in partnership with HR and training teams to assist your workforce of the future reach their full potential. We have non-technical development programs ready to roll out. We also, actually, we do a lot of work on the technical side as well, putting together technical development plans as well. So, again, working on both sides there to help. The result is really well-rounded apprentices and graduates at the end of their time. Or we can tailor-make to match your values, your company values and goals. For our apprentices, we have a life skills program. We're talking about, we've talked a lot about safety. Back in 2009, on one of our Nickel West sites in Kalgoorlie, we had 9 apprentices. Not one of them had their driver's licence. They're all old enough to drive. They all lost their driver's licence. And one had a serious accident. He actually can't, he's physically and mentally disabled now. It was such a serious accident. And we said, what the hell are we teaching our apprentices and what can we do to help them? So we rolled out a life skills program, and that taught them about having safety as a value in their life. We can preach about safety, we can do all the inductions, we can do the retraining, but if people don't value safety with, personally, you'll find that a lot of these safety things won't even touch the sides, because if they're not doing that at home, or if they're only doing it at work and giving you lip service and they're not doing it at home, well, it hasn't really hit the point. We want them to be safe at work and following all the rules and safe at home. So the apprentices will first target with that. About having safety as a personal value in their life. We also taught them time management, conflict resolution, and at the end, towards the end of their apprenticeship, we'd also give them introduction to supervisor development. So they could then go out in teams and be well equipped. They had the practical, they had their apprenticeship, and they had some other really good life skills that they could apply, so they could be really well-rounded tradesmen. So closing this gap, as a business, what can you do to reduce this action gap? Firstly, recognise that you can't be everything to everyone, and you may have to call in some experts. And you've probably heard from a lot of those experts here today. That everyone's got a lot of different ideas of how you can increase productivity and get the most out of your workforce. Create a culture of support. We talk about culture, we throw that word around a lot, but if you're not supporting your people, and really trying to help them develop, they won't feel valued, they won't stick around. Support can be a part of your employee value proposition. It's something that EVP's talked about a lot. A lot of people give it lip service but don't actually deliver it. Show them that you care. Show of hands here, who in their company has development plans, personal development plans? Yep, okay. How often do you review them? Once a year? Any twice a year? Any quarterly? Well, I think quarterly is what you should be aiming for, because that creates a great platform of communication between the employee and manager, because it shows that you care, it shows that you're really interested in their development, and you can track their development as well. So those companies who do look at development plans more than once a year, that's great. You're probably going towards an employer of choice. But development plans are really important. It's the underpinning for graduates and apprentices, Workforce Future. It's the underpinning document that helps them get through. It shows them that we care about them. There was a story yesterday about a graduate engineer who quit because after 2 years he didn't want to be called a graduate anymore. Well, where was the expectation up front for that guy? So, hey, you're going to be on a graduate program, you're going to be here 2 to 3 years and you will be called a graduate. We got graduates, fighting for positions to get into the industry. I don't think they would give it a rat's if they were called a graduate for 3 or 4 years, as long as they were in doing the job. So, I'd look at your recruitment processes and look at some of these people coming into your business and seeing what support and what expectations you're laying down nice and early. Allowing your coaches and mentors and your managers to actually teach your workforce of the future, giving them time to do that, that's really, really important. And believe it or not, the top 5 things that graduates want, in that top 5, salary didn't even come into it. So we're saying that we need to pay people more to keep them, maybe when they're engineers 10, 15 years down the track, but grads, the top 5 things that they want to be constantly challenged and not left to do menial tasks. Graduates feel that their knowledge will be wasted, which is quite, I thought that was a bit of and this is stats from the Australian Association of Graduate Employers. But look, give them lots of practice, give them lots of things to do. They want regular review and feedback sessions, which is very easy to do. They want a mentor in the workplace. They want to know that they can approach people and talk about their career. And what we do is the Graduate Impact Company, we set them up with mentors, or we invite them along to meet senior people in their industry so they can talk about their careers and how far it took for them to get, hey, I'm just coming in here, but I now know it's going to take me 10 years to be mine manager, and it's going to take me the next 4 years to get my ticket. We're setting realistic expectations for these guys so they're not blurred and they're not going off after 2 years saying, I don't want to be called a graduate anymore. They want structured rotations. Now, this may sound hard, it's actually not overly hard. Expose them to all parts of the business. Give them a little bit of time in planning, give them a little bit of time in finance. HR office would take any grads of any discipline to give them a hand. Show them how the business is really run. It's pretty easy with a mining engineer because you can throw them around to drill and blast, you can throw them around to planning, you can throw them around to strategy. That's probably one of the easiest rotations to organise. But they love seeing all parts of the business and they want to learn. People, I know there's a couple of Gen Ys in the room, sometimes they get a bad reputation, but actually I really enjoy the Gen Ys because they actually want to learn, they want to be taught. They're going to be our future leaders, so let's teach them really well. And the 5th thing they want to understand their career path. And it's for you senior people out there to show them that career path and show them that realistic expectation. Look, the majority of people learn by doing. So practice, practice, practice. Allow the workforce of the future to do that. Support them in doing that, because at the end of the day they'll stay with your company, you will get retention. And the example of this is, of that 2008 intake we had, so we're 5 years down the track now, every single one of those graduates are now superintendents. So it only took them 5 years to get that, but it was a very rigorous program we put them through. But they had supportive people around them. Now, I'm not just saying that for big organisations. Small organisations can actually do it better because you get more people on board. And that right there, that's how you maximise your investment. And look, our aim at the Graduate Impact Company is to create dynamic, innovative, high-performing, humble graduates, because we want them to be grateful for the opportunity with the capability and skills to become future industry leaders. So thanks for listening today. If there's any questions, I'll take them, or you can ask me at lunch. Thanks.